Thank you very much. So before the move into the global brainstorm session, we have a small survey to you guys, and I want to share it in the chat. So while you go to this website, you can see a survey. Should COVID-19 vaccine be mandated? Please join the survey, and we will check the result, and we will share it end of their presentation. Thank you very much, and we will really eager to learn the results of this survey. Thank you very much. So we have video about COVID-19, and after that we will continue with the presentation. Thank you very much. Let's see our video right now, and we will be there. Thank you very much for watching this video. So let's check the results of the COVID-19 vaccine being mandated. 58 votes say yes, and 29 votes say no right now, and there's plenty of people not join us yet. and we are waiting
or
to join this survey. I will share it again so we can. Thank you very much. So let's jump to our first presentation. First presentation, Nepal. The Brain Cube, Dr. Akash and team could start their presentation about should COVID-19 vaccine be mandate. Dr. Akash, are you there?
Hi, I'm here. You can make Miss Sahista as a co-host, so she will share the screen.
Yeah, if she or he writes something from the chat, I can do it.
Yeah, okay. Sahista, can you write something on chat?
Yes, too.
Sahista Tapa, right?
Exactly.
Mrs. Tapa, you are the co-host right now, so you can share your screen. We are watching the Nepal. Thank you very much.
Can I share my screen?
Not yet because you didn't share yet.
Oh.
You will see the green button top of the bottom of the screen that's right to share screen. You can click on it, and after you will choose your. Yes, you did right now. Yes, we can see it right now. The stage is yours, Team Nepal.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and good evening from Nepal. I am Saista Thapa, a master student, and I am very grateful that I got an opportunity to present here and represent Nepal and my colleagues. Without consuming much time, I would like to proceed my presentation. So here, so I'd like to start from history of COVID-19. As we all know that coronavirus disease is now dominating the lives of everyone, which is responsible for 2020 global pandemic. On 31st December 2019, the WHO formally notified about a cluster of cases of pneumonia in Wuhan city. And on 5th January, 59 cases were known and none had been fatal. 10 days later, WHO was aware of 282 confirmed cases, of which 4 were in Japan, South Korea, and Thailand. The cause of the severe acute respiratory syndrome that became known as COVID-19 was a novel coronavirus, that is SARS-CoV-2. Phylogenetic analysis suggests that SARS-CoV-2 originated in animals, probably bat, and was transmitted to other animals before crossing into humans at the Wuhan wheat market in Wuhan city. SARS-CoV-2 is not the first coronavirus to cause outbreak of respiratory infection in humans. 6 others have been identified so far, all believed to have been originated in animals. So it all started here. So the coronavirus COVID-19 is affecting 218 countries and territories around the world and 2 international conventions. So here I have kept the data of 23rd December, where there were all total almost 79 million cases, total cases of COVID-19 worldwide, and 21 million total active cases of COVID-19 worldwide. So that according to this old meter, the graph shows the cases is increasing day by day, and as I saw today's total cases, and that is on December 26, 80 million total cases so here. So it's been increasing day by day. Here is the pie chart showing the country's cases distribution. This shows the case cases distribution among the countries. Among them, the most severely affected countries include the US, Brazil, and India. These are the countries with the most positive cases. As the COVID-19 pandemic spread throughout the world, countries are at different stages in their exposure to the virus. They are also employing diverse strategies to limit or contain COVID-19 impact. From those, Taiwan and New Zealand has become the example how they successfully able to eliminate COVID-19. Mm, From this graph, uh, total coronavirus till this stage cases in Taiwan is this is the data from December 24 that I have taken. There were total 776 cases in Taiwan and 2,128 cases in New Zealand. By taking a particularly proactive approach, Taiwan response was probably the most effective and least disruptive of any countries that many researchers have said. In an article published in the international journal, The Lancet Regional Health Western Pacific, researchers from the University of Otago in New Zealand, the National Taiwan University, and the Taiwan Center for Disease Control examined the pandemic responses of the two island countries, that is 9,000 kilometers apart. Both countries mounted very effective responses to COVID-19 and both had successfully eliminated community transmission by early August. Taiwan currently has one of lowest mortality burden among its high-income jurisdictions, achieved elimination by April 2020. No confirmed cases in the community without a lockdown. Announced its first confirmed case of COVID-19 on 21st January. Likewise, New Zealand, which achieved elimination of community transmission of COVID-19 by May 2020, but had a particularly stringent lockdown, recorded its first case of COVID-19 on 28th February 2020. After a period of elimination, also experienced a localized outbreak in the Auckland region in August 2020. Both Taiwan and New Zealand followed a mandated use of case-based example, contact tracing and quarantine, and population-based, that is face masks use and physical distancing intervention. Population-based intervention played a major role in Taiwan elimination efforts. So, from this, Taiwan acted very early to control the virus, introducing health screening of air passenger. On the day the WHO was informed of the outbreak in Wuhan on 31st December 2009, the timely and vigorous response allowed Taiwan to avoid the national lockdown used in New Zealand to eliminate community transmission. So, with the increasing cause of COVID-19 in developed countries, Nepal have also find hard to cope with the spread of COVID-19. As Nepal is an emerging tourist destination with the Chinese being the second highest tourist nationality, the risks of transmission in the country have risen greatly. Nepal first confirmed case in 23rd January was that of Nepalese student in China, Wuhan province. He was 32 years old returning from Wuhan. The positivity rate went down, which is a good thing, but it happened for the wrong reason. Nepal COVID-19 pandemic has peaked, and the number of daily cases and the positivity rate and the number of active cases are all going apparently down. Uh, in the graph shows it mm, at the November and October it goes at a high peak and is slowly down, apparently down. The reason is because the government is conducting fewer PCR tests virtually, no official contact tracing, and achieve cases are at home and going hospital only when they are really serious. In Nepal, there is almost 77 hospital and lab across the country conducting now an average of 9,000 PCR tests a day, which went down quantitatively from a total of 15,000 tests per day, according to the government of report. This is because the MOSP, which stands of Ministry of Health and Population of Nepal, reduced the cost of PCR tests for COVID-19 from 4,400 to 2,000. After the pandemic hit Nepal, new ad hoc mechanisms were established by executive decision to respond to the crisis. Despite of many challenges facing globally, many high-level pharmaceuticals company have already made or in a way of making COVID vaccine. Vaccine typically require years of research and testing before reaching the clinic. But in 2020, scientists began on a race to produce safe and effective coronavirus vaccine in record time. Researchers are currently testing 64 vaccines in clinical trial on human. 18 have reached the final stages of testing, and at least 85 preclinical vaccines are under active investigation in animals. These are the leading vaccine and which is in a approved phase or which are in a trial phase. Vaccine which are have approved in last month are Comirnaty, also known as uh, Tonizamerin, uh, which was produced by company Pfizer and BioNTech, which is approved in several countries, emergency use in US and elsewhere. On November 9, New York-based Pfizer and the German company BioNTech have made history by presenting preliminary data indicating that their coronavirus vaccine was over 90% effective. On December 2, the United Kingdom gave emergency authorization to Pfizer and BioNTech vaccine, becoming the first Western country to give such an approval to a coronavirus vaccine. Injection began on December 8 with William Shakespeare is 81 among the first to receive a dose. Similarly, mRNA virus, which was manufactured by Moderna, approved in Canada and emergency use in US. On December 18, the FDA gave emergency use authorization for a vaccine made by the Boston-based company, as I said, Moderna. The Moderna vaccine is the second one authorized by the FDA, coming a week after the vaccine made by Pfizer and BioNTech. Canada approved the vaccine on December 23. Similarly, BBIBP Covaxin, the state-owned Chinese company Sinopharm, is currently testing two vaccines based on inactivated coronaviruses. On September 14, the UAE gave emergency approval for Sinopharm vaccine to use on healthcare workers, since government officials and others were also receiving it. On December 9, the UAE gave full approval to the Beijing Institute vaccine. It's a good news that vaccine have been approved as some are in trial phase. Many rumors and commentary have given, and many questions will arise regarding COVID-19 vaccine. The current vaccine confer protection against the COVID-19 disease, but immunize individuals who are subsequently exposed to the virus may still become infected, and though they may not show symptoms, might remain infection for a short time. We all therefore need to continue follow public health measures to limit the spread of the virus. So these are the commentary made so far on COVID-19 vaccine. This young or old first timing of COVID-19 vaccination could decide. It is assumed that the elderly should be first in line to be vaccinated but mathematical modeling suggests priority can be given to likely spreaders like younger adults, say expert. This article revealed that if vaccination starts sufficiently early in 2021, a strategy of vaccinating individuals 60 years of age and older will prevent the most death. But more surprisingly, we found that if the vaccine is not available until later in 2021, we might be able to prevent more death by first vaccinating younger age. Likewise, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, it is a controversial statement. He has suggested that the COVID-19 vaccine developed by Pfizer BioNTech could turn people who take it into crocodiles. This is not the first time he has made controversial statement regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Is on the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine has been undergoing trial in Brazil for weeks. He added, if you become superhuman, if a woman start to grow a beard, or if a man start to speak with an effeminate voice, they will not have anything to do with it. The vaccine will be free, but it would not be compulsory for all citizens to get it. Such news makes people in dilemma whether they should take vaccine or not, because people don't trust easily until they see the result. uh, it lasts if I think if COVID-19 vaccine are found to be effective and safe and widely available, I think a very large proportion of people will ultimately take them. So I think for now it should not be mandatory, because the right to make decision should be given to people, and it is still be successfully only by coordinating between the countries around the world. So this infographic highlights some key differences between the 7 countries survey in terms of propensity to be vaccinated and trust in policy and in the pharmaceutical sector. While it is difficult to predict where new mutation of the disease will occur, none so far have been found to contain mutation that make the virus deadlier or more likely to be able to avoid vaccine or treatment. So that's all for my presentation, and thank you.
Okay, that was great presentation. Thank you very much to Nepal team. So don't forget to join our survey about COVID-19 vaccine. So we will check it. Your opinion about the vaccine will change or not during this presentation. Thank you very much, Ms. Tapa and Dr. Akashdeo. So that was really great presentation from Nepal. Thank you very much again. So
Thank you.
we will continue with the Indonesia, president of the Indonesian Young Scientist Association, Dr. Danny Iravam. How are you? Dr. Danny? Dr. Devi? Mrs. Vijaya, are you here?
Hi everyone, I will be speaking on behalf of the Indonesian Young Scientists Association.
Okay, Mr. Vijaya, right now I'm just made you co-host, so you can start your presentation with sharing screen if you want.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Good evening from Indonesia, everyone. I am Prashna Wijaya. I'm so sorry I could not give appropriate greetings for each and one of you all, because we might be in a different time zone. First of all, I would like to recognize the international online class for holding this global brainstorming. Hi, Mrs. Akhter. Hi, Mrs. Kaya. I also want to acknowledge the Rumah Riset Science Hunter Indonesia and the Indonesian Young Scientists Association for giving me this opportunity to join in this global brainstorming. Without taking too much time, let's just continue with the presentation. Okay, so we are going to talk about COVID vaccine. I don't think it would be appropriate if we don't talk about what COVID-19 is first. So, I'm so sorry. So, COVID-19. Approximately a year ago, in December 2019 to be exact, the first COVID case was identified in Wuhan, China. And it was firstly known as the 2019 novel coronavirus, but then changed into the coronavirus disease 2019. It is caused by a strain of the coronavirus family, and the virus specifically is known as the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2. And this COVID-19 in particular has affected our lives in maybe different ways, but there are similarities. For example, we used to go to schools, but now we have online classes in Zoom, Google Meeting, or any other softwares we're using. And then at some point, maybe our country experiences lockdown, services other than the essential services like the cinemas, the malls, they were all closed down due to the COVID-19 lockdown. And I think one of the greatest impact is that we are now using masks everywhere we go. There are lots and lots of more impacts of COVID-19, but maybe these three are one of the greatest impacts. So COVID-19 is a mild to moderate respiratory illness, but it can be serious illness for people with cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, chronic respiratory diseases, and cancer. And this is also a very, very serious diseases for people older or children. The symptoms of COVID-19 is divided into three: most common symptoms, less common symptoms, and the serious symptoms. Most common symptoms include fever, dry cough, and tiredness. Less common symptoms include aches, pain, sore throat, diarrhea, conjunctivitis, headache, loss of taste and smell, a rash on skin or discoloration in finger or toes. For some serious symptoms, it includes the difficulty in breathing or shortness of breath, chest pain or pressure, the loss of speech or movement. So if you develop these symptoms, I really, really recommend you to have the rapid test or the swab PCR test, or you may just consult to the doctor. So in this light, first of all, I'd like to express my deepest sympathy for people who lose their loved ones or family because of this COVID-19. This was the data retrieved from the Johns Hopkins University Medical School website from the 18th of December 2020. Till that day, there are above 1.6 million global deaths and more than approximately 75 million global cases of COVID-19. This is really, really a deep condolences for each and every one of us. And this is why we need to do the health protocol accordingly. So now let's go to the main topic of the day, the COVID vaccine. Firstly, let's cover what a vaccine actually is. A vaccine is a biological preparation that provides active acquired immunity to a particular infectious disease. And it is one of the greatest achievements of public health. So to understand how does a vaccine work, we need to understand how our immune system works. Firstly, if there is a pathogen, either virus, bacteria, parasite, or any other pathogen enters our body will trigger an immune response to defeat these pathogens. To defeat it, our body has weapons known as the antibody. And after our body defeated these pathogens, our body would create memory cells. What do memory cells actually do? Memory cells actually don't really do nothing. Literally, they're just sleeping and memorizing. But once a similar pathogen enters our body again, these memory cells will be activated and will be fighting against the pathogen. And adults have more of these memory cells than babies, because of course we have been through more infection than babies. So this is one of the reasons why babies are more prone to diseases than us. So here is the representation retrieved from the World Health Organization. For example, there are measles, chickenpox, and flu. They are the pathogens which has infected our body. But for new pathogens like COVID-19, there isn't any antibody to defeat this. And this might be very, very harmful for us. This is why vaccine take place. Vaccine would train our body, create the memory cells, and so that we could identify which antibody can be used to defeat the pathogen. So how is a vaccine created? The ingredients of the vaccine includes the antigen, preservative, stabilizer, surfactant, residual, diluent, and adjuvant. The antigen. For this presentation, I would take the mRNA vaccine as the example. So the antigen would be the mRNA. And the preservative, in the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, there isn't any preservative. Stabilizer is what makes the vaccine last longer. It might be lipids or salts. Surfactants also might be lipids or salts. Residuals are parts of the vaccine, which is not actually essential in making the vaccine, but somehow it's included in the vaccine. For example, egg protein. They don't really have a function in the vaccine, but they're present in the vaccine. The next would be the diluent. Of course, diluent, their use is to dilute the vaccine. Diluent use is mostly sterilized distilled water. Adjuvant. Adjuvant is what makes the vaccine work better because it boosts our immune system. And these are also mostly lipids and salt. Or, as mentioned, RNA. So what is RNA? The antigen used in this COVID vaccine. So inside our cells has organelles inside it. It is the endoplasmic reticulum, smooth ER, rough ER, the Golgi bodies, ribosomes, nucleus, etc. Okay, so nucleus. Nucleus is where the genetic information of our body is stored. This is where the parts that makes you, you, that makes me, me. Does it really make sense? Yeah, that's what makes us, us. So genetic information is stored in the deoxyribonucleic acid, or known as DNA. Inside the nucleus, there are apparatus that read the DNA and translate it into the ribonucleic acid, or RNA. And the RNA will be released from the nucleus, and they would enter the cytoplasm and go to the ribosome. What is the function of this RNA, or should we call it as messenger RNA? Messenger RNA is what instructs our ribosomes to do protein synthesis, so that it will instruct the ribosome how to build the protein by arranging the amino acid. So mRNA vaccine. Before, we have just mentioned about the RNA. RNA. In COVID infection, the coronavirus, which is take function of this ribosome and create more of the coronavirus. And this is same. We use the same system in the mRNA vaccine. So the RNA is taken from the spike protein of COVID-19, and then it is injected to the R muscle cells, and the ribosomes of the R muscle cells would create protein, to be specific, the spike protein of the COVID-19. And then after the protein is created, it will break down through the cell membrane and will be released into our body. And then our body would learn and sees that as a COVID infection. After that, the antibody is formed without even having to deal with the real infection. So I personally would rather be vaccinated than having real COVID to get this antibody. And this technology is used by Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine and also Moderna vaccine. So our big question of the day, should it be mandated? In this phase, I would just give several arguments against this COVID-19, and we will answer it together. Okay, so one of the argument is, does it even work. So for hundreds of years, the methodology of vaccine development, there is the placebo versus real vaccine research. So in Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, this is the result. The x-axis is the days after dose 1, and the y-axis is the COVID-19 cases. The red one is the placebo shot, and the blue one is the real Pfizer shot. As you can see how much difference this placebo versus real Pfizer shot makes. So we can just conclude that this vaccine really do work. Okay, next argument. Why is the development so fast? Here is a graph of quote-unquote real development of vaccine if this COVID-19 vaccine development is the same with other diseases vaccine development. The funding, the expert, everything. So in total, we predict that this will be finished in around 14 years. If it started in 2020, then it will be done approximately in 2034. But in this COVID-19 vaccine development, it's very, very different. You can see how much we accelerate the time. And we are, by 2020 now, we are already done with developing the vaccine. You can see the preclinical research, phase 1 trial, phase 3 trial, building factory, everything is the same life cycle of vaccine development. But we build the factory even before the preclinical research is done. That's how we became so fast. And if other question is formed also, how is this very, very accelerated? Well, of course, it's accelerated because the global funding is enormous. And then there are lots and lots of experts working on this vaccine in particular. So first of all, the global funding and then the global research. This is how the vaccine became so fast in development. Next, mRNA vaccine is new. So this is similar to the previous argument. They argue that mRNA vaccine might be harmful for our body because mRNA vaccine is new. Yes, it's a new technology, but previous vaccine development also uses mRNA, although it's not approved yet. For example, the mRNA influenza vaccine, and then the Zika mRNA vaccine, and also the rabies mRNA vaccine. Well, another question is now formed. Why is this not approved if this is safe? Well, the answer is because of this particular mRNA is very, very brittle. That small amount of enzyme could destroy the mRNA. So even before it enters the ribosome, the mRNA would be destroyed. So in this COVID case, we encapsulate the mRNA with the lipid nanoparticle layer. And there is also a con against this, which is the difficulty in transporting this. So let's take an example of the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine. The Pfizer BioNTech vaccine needs to be stored in negative 70 degrees Celsius. If it's stored in the room temperature, then the mRNA might be broken. So this is one of the cons against it. Next, is this vaccine safe? I do think that this is kind of a funny argument because, gigantic pharmaceutical company, World Health Organization, and prestigious universities are working in this vaccine. So I don't think this is actually a valid argument, but let's just answer it anyway. So there is the preclinical research, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then approved for broader use. By now, we are already done with phase 3 and even approved for broader use. So this phases is not only to test that this vaccine, whether it works or not, but it's also to test whether how much the side effects would be. And it is approved for broader use, so there is no question regarding to the safetyness of this vaccine. And plus, important people of the world, for example, the president-elect of US, President-elect Joe Biden, got vaccinated, and then the Prime Minister of United Kingdom, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, got vaccinated also. Vice President Mike Pence was also vaccinated, and then Dr. Fauci was also vaccinated. And my president, the president of Indonesia, Mr. President Joko Widodo would be the first person to be vaccinated in my country. So I don't think there is any more question regarding to this vaccine safetiness. Next would be about the side effects. Here is the comparison of the COVID vaccine side effects and the flu vaccine side effects. COVID vaccine side effects include pain, swelling, fever, chills, tiredness, and headache. Flu vaccine side effects include soreness or redness, swelling from the shot, headache, fever, nausea, muscle aches, fainting, Guillain-Barré syndrome. So yeah, you can just compare it yourself, how much different this side effect of COVID and flu vaccine. So I don't really think that there should be a cons against this COVID vaccine side effect. So one more cons, this would be the last argument, which is, what about the allergy? So here I have the picture of peanut. Maybe this is, you guys would think that this is unrelated to the COVID vaccine. But for people with severe allergy against peanut, a peanut could kill them actually. So as this COVID vaccine. So, and after you got the COVID vaccine shot, you will be under the supervision of doctors. So you would be actually safe because our medical world right now already have solution for this. We have the antihistamine therapy, adrenaline therapy, and the steroid therapy. There are lots and lots of this allergy. And according to the disease control, they actually suggest us regarding you should take the vaccine or not. Okay. So now, finally, we got into the conclusion. Okay, but before we conclude or I close the presentation, I have one more note for you all. Since I believe that most of us have been working in the field of science, so please, please, please, please don't question scientific method. Because if you have been working in biology research, even doing the ethics clearance, it's hard enough. So can you imagine how complicated is this vaccine development? And since we have been working in the field of science, we must understand that scientific method is a very, very, very complicated way. And yeah, if you get what I mean, don't question science because we are the ones who have been working in the field of science. And then, please do not believe what expert says or me myself says because statements might be biased. And because we have been working in the field of science, you can just do your own research, your literature review, and the PubMed, Elsevier, anywhere actually. There are lots and lots of resources from the CDC and the WHO. So you can do your own research and you can conclude with your own conclusion. We haven't came out with the conclusions yet. So who am I to answer should this vaccine be mandated? So let's just go into my personal opinion. Me, myself, I would get the vaccine. And then if I am the government, I would make this vaccine mandated, except you have a letter from an immunologist because, severe allergies happen. So to close this presentation, I have a quote from Professor Shane Crotty, PhD, as a professor in the Center of Infectious Disease and Vaccine Research. Here is a very, very good quote regarding to the vaccine. It is not unlike going to the gym and getting exercise and really soul muscle. A bit of pain can be a positive sign that really good things are happening. Sometimes you have to earn your own immunity, just like you have to earn those biceps you wanted so bad. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vijaya. That was very quite informative, simply beautiful, simply beautiful. Thank you very much. So really, we got to learn a lot, much more thing than the news, right? That was quite impressive. Thank you very much. So let's continue. Let's continue with Kazakhstan team. But before I want to share that. I want to share that survey again, because still some of people in here not attend that survey. Should COVID-19 vaccine be mandated or not? So let's jump to Kazakhstan team. Kazakhstan team has got 3 different students, and their supervisor is the Mr. Kanat Suleymanov, Denis Karmanova, Anna Lutapova, and Siana Nudalcheva will do their presentation right now. So I will make you guys one by one host. If you wait a second, please.
You actually can make the host only Miss Siana, okay? So she's the one with the presentation. All the others will be just speaking.
Siana Nudalcheva.
Exactly.
Okay. Mrs. Siana, right now you are the co-host, so you can share your screen if you want. And you can start your presentation. Thank you very much.
Miss Siana, I believe in you. You can do it.
Mrs. Siana? Yes.
Hello,
So stage is yours, Mrs. Siana. You can start, Mrs. Siana.
I guess she has some problems with the audio.
Yeah. I guess it. So, Mr. Kanat, what should I do? Another student will do that presentation, or we will wait for Mrs. Siana?
Can you hear me right now?
Oh yeah,
okay.
It's better now.
She is here.
Okay. Hello, everyone. We are participants from Kazakhstan. And today we're going to tell you about COVID-19
and the advantages and disadvantages of its vaccine.
So before getting into the vaccines and information about vaccines, we want to tell you a few things about COVID-19 that you should know. Coronavirus disease, or how people often call it COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. The first case was identified in December of 2019 in Wuhan, China, after which it had spread all over the world, creating an ongoing pandemic. The symptoms of COVID-19 are different for everyone, but they often include fever, cough, breathing difficulties, loss of smell and taste, and fatigue. Symptoms can appear 1 to 14 days after exposure to the virus. Making vaccines requires years of researching and testing before reaching the clinic. But in 2020, considering the ongoing pandemic and rising cases of infections, scientists were able to produce safe and effective coronavirus vaccine in a record short period of time. Researchers are currently testing 63 vaccines in clinical trials on humans, and 18 have reached the final stages of testing. Around 85 preclinical vaccines are being tested on animals.
A few important things to pay attention to. Vaccination can prevent you from getting infected by COVID-19. 2 doses are needed. But after COVID-19 vaccination, you may have some side effects. This is a normal sign that your body is building protection. It's important to point out that vaccinated people still need to wear masks to avoid any risks. It often takes a few weeks for the body to build immunity after getting the vaccine.
So now we want to present you 3 COVID-19 vaccines that successfully entered to the final stage.
So the first one is Moderna. On November 30th, Boston-based company Moderna announced their COVID-19 vaccine and applied to the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, for an emergency use authorization. On December 18th, the FDA gave emergency use authorization for Moderna. The Moderna vaccine is the second one authorized by the FDA, coming a week after the vaccine made by Pfizer and BioNTech. Vaccine is 94.5% effective. After the first dose, you need to wait 4 weeks to use the second one, and the type of this vaccine is muscle injection.
Sputnik 5 is the world's first registered vaccine against coronavirus with an efficacy rate of more than 90% based on a well-studied human adenoviral vectors platform. According to 14th December announcement, the efficacy of the Sputnik 5 vaccine is 91.4%. The importance of this vaccine is that you need to wait 3 weeks before receiving the second dose by injecting it into your muscles.
And the third vaccine is Pfizer. On November 9th, New York-based company called Pfizer, working with the German company called BioNTech, presented their first COVID-19 vaccine, which was already over 90% effective. And so just over a month later, on December 11th, the Food and Drug Administration granted it the first very emergency use authorization ever given by the US to a coronavirus vaccine. The efficacy of Pfizer is currently 95%, and you need to use 2 doses. And after the first one, you need to wait for 3 weeks to use the second one. The type of Pfizer is as well muscle injection.
According to specialists, it is known that an unexpected reaction from these vaccines is possible, since the vaccine is not fully examined yet. Each vaccine has its side effects. Scientists have found 4 in Moderna, which are pain in the injection area, fatigue, muscle and joint pains. 4.5% of the patients reported on receiving a headache.
In addition, for Sputnik 5, an allergic reaction is possible. However, due to sporadic occasions, this statement cannot be said about the vaccine completely. Headache and high fever are also innate.
As for Pfizer, such noticeable side effects were undetected, as it does not present much damage to the human organism. However, there were cases of tiredness and headaches in less than 4% of the patients. So regarding Moderna and Pfizer, some experts had called on the doctors. Some experts had called on the doctors and government officials to inform people on possible increases in body temperature.
Vaccination has both pros and cons, and the first pro says that vaccines help prevent dangerous diseases that have killed and can sicken or kill
around you, especially people who are now well enough to be vaccinated.
Researchers thoroughly investigated each vaccine before presenting data to the US FDA. The FDA can basically approve or deny the vaccine. The overwhelming majority of research shows that the vaccines are safe to use.
But how we mentioned earlier, vaccination as well has its cons. Each vaccine is made different components and each can affect you differently. People who have experienced allergic reactions to certain vaccines in the past may experience an allergic reaction again.
You could still get sick even if you are vaccinated.
Some people with weakened immune systems cannot be vaccinated or should be under close supervision of a healthcare provider.
Summarizing, we found out a few things about COVID vaccination. Vaccines are highly effective, but no vaccine is 100% effective. However, after vaccination, you may have some side effects, such as fatigue, memory loss, muscle weakness, hearing or vision loss, and etc.
Vaccines are considered to be safe. They're rigorously tested and go through many rounds of study, examination, and research before they're used with the general public.
Vaccines can reduce disease. Anti-vaccination could be very dangerous. Even today around the world, many vaccine-preventable deaths still occur. This is because vaccines are not available to everyone.
In our opinions, COVID-19 vaccines should be mandated and developed even further because that is the only way we will be able to fight the virus and end the ongoing pandemic.
Vaccines may have their own weaknesses, but without them, the humanity won't develop and move from where it's right now.
And the virus COVID-19 might in the future mutate and become even a more serious problem to people and humanity in general. The faster we end it, the better.
Thank you for attention.
Remember, stay safe.
Stay well.
And stay at home.
Thank you very much. The Kazakhstan team, that was a brilliant presentation. So stay safe, stay well, stay at home. That was really good, right? So Kazakhstan team, may I ask you a question?
Yes, you can.
Do you guys wearing mask in the Kazakhstan? Is it compulsory or not?
Yeah, but for sure wear masks.
Okay.
Like we should.
Okay, so the last team is Turkey team. So which is Mrs. İşler, Mr. Çelik, Mr. Mutlu, and Mr. Irmak will join as a team. So guys, who's gonna do that presentation?
Me.
Would you like to write something on the chat, please? Okay, you are the co-host right now, and you can share your screen as you can start your presentation. Stage is yours, Turkey team.
Thank you. Right, can you see it?
We can see it, we can see it.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Right. So we have made a presentation discussing both of the sides of the argument, because in our group we have came up with a divide, because some of us thought that it should and some of us thought that it shouldn't be mandatory. So let's begin.
Hello guys, my name is Umut. And should COVID-19 vaccine be mandated? I think it should be mandated. It's too important for us because vaccines are the most effective way to prevent infection disease. Vaccines work by training the immune system to recognize and combat the pathogens, virus, or bacteria. If you want to do this, pathogens molecules must be to trigger immune response. These molecules are called antigens. If we inject these antigens into the body to recognize them as hostile invaders, produce antibodies, and remember them for future. Antibodies are molecules in the structure of glycoprotein developed by the immune system of multicellular animal organism against organic structure that not belong to their own organism. Shall we review several types of COVID-19 vaccine? Let's begin with the Chinese vaccine. What is inactivated vaccine? Inactivated vaccines are made up of virus particles, bacteria, or other pathogens that are grown in the handmade environment, and then they lose the capacity to produce disease. There is no metabolic waste left in our body. Most countries, especially Asian countries, prefer to receive this vaccine because it's provide easier to distribute. 4 Celsius degrees storage condition and low production cost, but it's taking time for produce. This method has been used long time and it's completely safe. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean every vaccine is safe. Let's talk about another type of vaccine. Its name is mRNA. It's a very new technology. Vaccines consist of an mRNA strand that codes for a disease-specific antigens. Once the mRNA strand in the vaccine is inside the body cells, the cells use the genetic information to produce the antigens. The antigens is to display on cell surface where it is recognized by the immune system. Germany, USA, England are amongst the countries use this technology because it's too expensive. BioNTech, Pfizer, Moderna, and Oxford University have some tests about phase. This has to be stored between -40 Celsius degrees and -70 Celsius degrees. This day, the virus has mutated in Brazil and England. This news makes the scientific community nervous.
But why don't people want to be vaccinated? Now we are discussing if COVID-19 vaccine should be mandatory or not, and I'm going to give explains for both of the sides. But before that, I want to talk about the people who are against all the vaccines, not just the COVID-19 vaccine, and the reasons behind that. But first of all, let's look at some statistics. In a global survey, 74% of the people said they would be vaccinated, and 26% said they would not. Among the people who said they wouldn't be vaccinated, 56 said they were worried about the side effects of the vaccine. 29% said they had concerns about its effectiveness, and 15% said they were against vaccines in general. There are 3 main reasons explaining us why. First one, scientific reasons. Second one, religious reasons. And the third one, political reasons. So let's have a look at our first reason, the scientific reason. Most of the people who don't want to be vaccinated say there are side effects of vaccine, but companies are hiding side effects for more sales. Another reason is they are scared because of the level of adjuvants. I know you are going to ask me what is adjuvant. Adjuvant is a pharmacological agent that improves the immune response of a vaccine. Well, these are not true because vaccines are being followed by big health organizations like World Health Organization, ECDC, and such. So that's impossible. And our second reason is religious reasons. In Thailand and vaccines contain pork-derived products. Vaccines contain pork gelatin because we need to make its storage life longer. And in Islam, consuming pork is forbidden. But Islam is not the only religion in the world that has religious groups that openly discourage vaccination. And that's why it shouldn't be mandatory. And my friend is going to talk about the political reasons after the video that will show you. But keep in mind, these were the reasons why people are against vaccines in general. But COVID-19 vaccines is a different case because this is not about individual liberty, but public safety. Vaccines are already mandatory in a number of situations, like including a travel. If one does not get vaccinated, another person who can't get vaccinated or does not respond effectively to the vaccine will be exposed to the disease because there is no herd immunity. It's everyone's duty. Your rights do not amount to the right of exposing someone to a deadly virus.
Now there's a video. It's from a newscast. It's interviews of some people from around the world saying if they will be vaccinated and why. And after that, there is a speech of the Prime Minister of United Kingdom.
I'm not planning to take the vaccine because it is too many questions about why. We're just reading it, what's going on with the vaccine and who is going to take it to be immune.
Я бы хотела признаться вообще. I don't want to be but possibly I would have chosen the Russian next if I wanted.
Prime Minister insists people won't be forced to take the shot.
Let's be clear, there will be no compulsory vaccination. That's not the way we do things in this country. We think it's a good idea. And I totally reject the propaganda of the anti-vaxxers. They're wrong. Vulnerable people, people who need a vaccine should definitely get a vaccine, and everybody should get a vaccine as soon as it is available, according to the advice of the JCVI, the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunization. We should be very, very pro-vaccine.
I'm not planning to take the vaccine.
Right. So before that, I want to read the Health Organization and what they said. Persuading people on the merits of COVID-19 vaccine would be far better than trying to make the jobs mandatory. Adding individual countries will decide as to how they want to conduct their vaccination campaigns. Now, this is important because this gives us the image that there is no force in earth that can make a worldwide mandation, because there is no organization that has the power to do such thing. But who can make these vaccinations mandatory? The governments. But what kind of governments? Of course, the individual governments. If there were, as the WHO explained in their statement, a worldwide mandation is not possible, as I said, but a government that wants a mandation would be responsible for a mandation for themselves and for their individual country. In the video, we have seen the Prime Minister's talk of United Kingdom. If you could mute, thank you.
You can continue. Continue.
And there are other nations, of course, supporting such ideals, such as Canada and United USA. And Joe Biden also made similar kind of statement of the United Kingdom's Prime Minister, explaining that forcing upon a mandation law of the vaccination, COVID-19 vaccination. So that kind of countries will not be mandating forces that can mandate it. My friend will give you an explanation.
Even though a government doesn't mandate the vaccine, there are unique cases where employers can make the COVID-19 vaccine mandatory for their employees, but only if they have legitimate bases such as long-term care homes, daycare, because the people who work there interact with elderly and kids, and it's the employer's call to make if they don't want to risk the people. But this kind kind of situation is unique because an employee working in an office can't force this upon his employees because it's not a risky environment. It's a slippery slope of a situation. If not understood right, it could be open to lawsuits, such as wrongful termination by coercion. But if it's understood by everyone, there is nothing wrong or unlawful.
Right. So even though a government says they will not enforce it upon their residents, an employer under the same law can do it if they have legitimate cases, as my friend explained. Another example, the head of Australia's national airline, Qantas, says the vaccine should for international travel in the future, such as when we travel overseas, we get shots, mandatory shots. It would be something like that, he says, and it should be mandatory, they say, but not as a mandation law given by a government, but as a private law given by the national airline. And other than that, the goal of public health is to ensure as many people as possible are vaccinated to prevent the transmission of the disease, the further transmission of the disease, of course. But it leaves the question about how best do we achieve that goal. And a vaccine mandate looks like it's the most straightforward way to do it. But we have a lot of backlash and resist. How do we then bring those people on side? And so it be that on one approach, it is to start with a strong recommendation, education campaign. Physicians, healthcare providers, and professors and doctors, etc., can be a part of this campaign. Even among people, of course, who are vaccinated and who aren't against other vaccines and who got their other concerned about these new vaccines also. And one approach perhaps is to start, like I've said, with a strong recommendation, being very transparent with the process. And once the vaccines are available, the government can make it as easy as possible to get access to be vaccinated. And even at the absence of a mandate, they can see what percentage of their residents have been vaccinated and vaccinated voluntarily. Though the records of the percentages is high enough, to ensure the whole community is protected, there wouldn't even be a need for a mandate. So, but it leaves the question in our heads that if there would be a mandate, if there were to be a mandate as soon as they got the shots ready, we could argue that the public might see it as an act of bad faith against them, because they would be leaving us no choice but to get the shots, leaving us no choice to make our own research and make our own choices. But in the first argument, as I said, if we start with a strong recommendation, it forces our case to be more solid. So the flu vaccine and other types of vaccines for transmittable diseases are mandatory, have never been mandatory. I'm so sorry. And so this is totally uncharted territory for us. But at the same time, COVID-19 has completely disrupted every single faction of our lives. So my friend will further explain that for you.
Coronavirus fatigue is real. Most of us have been stuck at home for months, only going out for food and supplies as needed. Since the time spent on various degrees of social isolation is approaching 200 days. Over it does not begin to cover our emotional state at the moment. Our stay at home for months has affected us in every way. Now, why am I telling you this? And how does it relate to our discussion of whether the vaccine should be mandated or not? It relates because, without realizing the extreme situations we have gone through during the quarantine, we can't predict how we would be affected by such a mandate as human beings, first of all, then as a community, socially, academically, and psychologically. COVID is affecting our social lives day by day. Before the pandemic, we were free to go out with our friends. However, since this process took a long time, the activities to do at home have decreased considerably and there was a desire to leave our homes. In order to fulfill this request, the vaccine must be mandatory because, as we've talked about it, the only current shortcut we came up with, then that can pave the road back to our normal lives.
So as you can see, there is a lot of divide of opinion in our group. So we wanted to show it in our presentation as well. So two of our members support that it should be mandated and two of us support that it shouldn't. So I want to also bring you another point of view because it is very important. And from a professor, Shabir Mati, from Vaccinology University of in Johannesburg, and he's also a South African ministerial advisor. He said that I wish we were having the same discussion they were having in Europe and America and etc. and Asia. But in poorer countries such as third world countries and Africa, currently it is an issue of accessibility. And when we will get the shots and what cost we will be getting them at. So he compares the situation to the flu epidemic in the 2009 and how Africa got the vaccines after the pandemic was over and how it was such a limited quantity even then. So unless we're careful, he says history can easily repeat itself. So I think that it is more of an important issue how we will support these poorer countries in such need of such needful time, because it is more of a humanitarian issue and we can easily access these vaccines in our countries, but they can't. So we can make it possibly accessible for ourselves without making a mandation law. So we can help them instead discussing whether it should be mandated or not, but they can't access it. So he said there is a possibility that we can't get these vaccines in a year, or we can't even get them in the end of 2022. So I think it's a more of a humanitarian issue rather than discussing if it should be mandatory or not at this point of time, because at this point most of our countries are able to access it. So that would be all from us. Thank you so much for listening.